best of both worlds. I feel like football-wise, academically, it's just the best of both worlds, in my opinion. The medical school, where I want to go into, being, working in the sports med field, that was a big, part of my decision. And just, the football, I feel like I got, two of the best developers, in the country, Coach Harbaugh and Coach Moore.
All right, that right there, Amir Herring, Michigan's latest verbal commitment. Welcome in on this Friday. A lot of recruiting news wherever you're at. Hope you're having a great one. We're ready to go here on Maize and Blue Reviews. Michigan football recruiting today. We're live weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports, and that includes you getting in at any time, whether it's through the feedback, whether you want to place a call. We've got the number for you that we can put up on the screen, and we've got some breaking news to get to. I see it flashing here in the background, so we can do that as soon as we let's put that as a scroll and take that one down. There we go. Now we're ready to go. As we talk about recruiting today, a lot of different things going on in the world of recruiting. There it is. There's the breaking news that we have. You may have heard. There's the breaking news. It's Dante Moore. Let's see if we can get this in play. This just happened moments ago on SportsCenter. And so to hear Dante, we have to push play. And can we make that happen? Let's see. Probably. Let's stop that just for a second. There he is. I want that to play. Oh, maybe I have to. Sorry, it's, I think the scroll on the bottom took the little icon away that I'm going to push play. So that was my bad. Now I'm pushing it. All right, maybe one more second. We want to hear Dante. We want to hear Dante telling us where he's going. And so to do that, I just have to click a couple buttons. Let's see if I can make that happen. And I think I can. I want to share that audio with you. And so here it is, Dante Moore. Go ahead, Dante. The stage is yours.
I would like to announce my commitment to the University of Oregon. Dante, congratulations. You pull out the Oregon Ducks.
Well, for a second, we'll watch it again. I thought for a second, I didn't know if it was Oregon University or University of Oregon. I thought for a split second it was going to be the University of Michigan, even though everybody was. Michigan. No. No.
Dante, congratulations. You pull out the Oregon Ducks green hat.
Yeah, congratulations, Dante. It is. It's a time to congratulate him. He went through everything to do it. There's the breaking news again. There's the sounder. Dante Moore picking the Oregon Ducks, the quarterback out of Detroit, Martin Luther King. They said it was going to be at noon on SportsCenter, and it took them to like 12:46 or something. That's the way to do it. TV, man. Tease it along. He'll be in the noon SportsCenter. They pushed it towards the back there. Yeah, but Dante asked a few questions. He was asked about the name, image, and likeness and how big of a factor it was. He didn't come out and say, yeah, they gave me the biggest amount of money. That's why I'm going there. That's not what he said. He said it wasn't all that big of a factor. He did say at the end, hey, but, the money's there. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing it, but he did say when he was asked about it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And he was also asked about USC and UCLA bolting out of the Pac-12 and making it down to the Pac-10. He said there's going to be competition anywhere. And so that's it with him going to Oregon. Tough loss on Dante, the Ghost Rider, saying, however, I foresee him in the transfer portal at some point. Well, there you go. I mean, that's right. Anything can happen. It's tough from a Michigan standpoint as we sit here just for a minute. I'm not going to sit here for 20 minutes lamenting the loss of Dante Moore, but a couple minutes This is somebody that Michigan had been pursuing since he had been in the 7th grade. I mean, he passes all the different things that you're looking at when you talk about a quarterback. He would have been the highest rated quarterback I've ever seen, go to Michigan. He was right down the road. The Wolverines had the full court press on him. They were all in on him all along. This was the guy. They may have even eschewed taking a legacy quarterback in CJ Carr to just put all of their chips in the middle on Dante Moore. And I can't fault him for that. The approach, like if Jim Harbaugh is saying, hey, what do you think if we just go all in on a guy that we think is going to be a generational quarterback? I think that's what they think. And we've been in on him since the 7th grade. Let's just pour everything that we have. We want to be great. We want to go after the best instead of, going after somebody that we think we may have a better chance at. Let's go after this. We think we have a pretty good chance, and then it doesn't happen. And, here they are to pick up the pieces. And, good plan. But as things go in college football, you could say, well, who knows, with CJ Carr, maybe he just wanted to leave. Same thing with Moore. Maybe he would have been gone. No matter how Michigan played it, no matter if Michigan was offering him the largest upfront name, image, and likeness package, no matter if Jim Harbaugh didn't flirt with the Minnesota Vikings, which had his offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis finding out that he was not the heir apparent to take over as the head coach. So he took off, and he was big in the Dante Moore recruiting. None of that may have mattered. Dante may have that Oregon hat on anyways, but you're at least left to wonder if Michigan would have played this a different way. If we would now be sitting there and looking at Dante Moore with a Michigan hat on instead of an Oregon hat on, it's very fair to wonder that if you're a fan of the maize and blue. I just think that Michigan's approach in this offseason, how they're going about things, it was a month ago I said I think it's a good idea to go after the big game, big players, the very best, and try to do it if you want to be the best. Meanwhile, I don't think that Michigan is approaching the name, image, and likeness the right way. Like I said, it might not have mattered. That's the same thing with Gaddis taking off because of what Harbaugh did. That might not have mattered either, but it might have. You want somebody to sit in here and say none of that matters. None of those things matter. Everything, matters. And, this could be the push. Michigan, there's a chance that, they sacrificed a chance at getting a generational quarterback by their approach with the name, image, and likeness, and maybe they will change their approach. At the end of this month, Michigan puts together this big recruiting day at the Big House. They call it the barbecue, and they've got the best quarterback next year lined up to head into the barbecue. Now, maybe that quarterback's going to look at $3, $4, $5 million guaranteed and say, hey, if I play really well in 2 or 3 years and I'm the starter, I can make twice that at Michigan. Maybe he thinks that way. And maybe Michigan's plan at that point, you'll say, look at the Wolverines. They did it their way. They zigged when everybody was zagging, and they still came out smelling like a rose. But, that's to be determined. And right now, at least for a moment, you can put a little frowny face on it if you're a U of M fan. Paul on Clubhouse leaving a message saying that Roger Goodell's Sunday Ticket is headed for a streaming service with decision coming later. Yeah, well, Sunday Ticket, and that is where you get all of the games available. That's fine. Like if they want to go that route. If they were making the Red Zone, Paul, a situation where they were putting that on a streaming service and one that I didn't have, I would be like, okay, here I am having to pay out the, the nose here again. But, streaming add-ons and extras, wait till the Big Ten has their TV deal and they release that in a week or two. Part of that is going to be extras on streaming that you have to get in, whatever it's going to be, whether it's going to be that Amazon Prime. Maybe you have that, you don't care. So that'll be fine for you. The one thing I find when it comes down, look at There's more, Dante. The one thing I find when it comes down to streaming services, and if you have them, it's like, okay, you don't have to pay more, so that's good. But even like when you're flipping back and forth, it's you may say it's lazy. And I think it's part of it. But I know this like in radio, like whatever you were listening to the night before, the next morning, your app where your radio is on, you're going to listen to that. And so you get that lead in from overnight to night in radio. In TV, you get the lead in, whatever you're watching beforehand, you tend to give the next couple minutes because maybe you're not lazy. It's just your habit. You don't just grab the remote. And the one thing about going to a streaming service, if you could just take it in with a remote and just hit a button and boom, you'd have the streaming service and you could flip back and forth. Fine. But for me, which I have all of these, different services and everything, I have to, and this is where the lazy part gets in. I can watch something, but I can't just flip, to go to the streaming services. There might be a way to do it on my one remote, but I actually have to get up and push a little button on the side of my TV and then go sit back down. And then it takes about 60 seconds. And then, for example, I'll have Amazon Prime. And if I want to get out then of Amazon Prime, I have to get back up there and again, get up and push the button. I just want to be able to sit back and once in a while, like, hey, I want to flip back and forth. Can they do all of that? Can they make everything where you can just flip, and they can make it when they do that? Going to be a lot less complaining. Okay, speaking of complaining, you want to get in and talk about the latest with Michigan recruiting. You can do that. Dante Moore, that decision coming down as expected. He is going to Oregon. Trepa saying, is it fair to say that Michigan is not a stable football program? Well, let's just stop it right there. I would say no, I don't think that's fair. I think Michigan is stable. They're very stable. They, I would be yelling a lot louder if Michigan did not win the Big Ten last year. I'd be yelling a lot louder if Michigan wasn't stacked right now, especially in their quarterback room. But those two things, they do factor in. Now, just because I don't, and a lot of other people don't think that Michigan's playing the name, image, and likeness game the right way, they might be able to afford. This is what we're going to find out. We're going to see how it affects. Maybe it affected Dante Moore. Maybe it'll affect Jaden Davis, who's coming in for the barbecue. Maybe it'll affect other players, the top-ranked ones. And maybe Michigan won't be have the kind of recruiting class that they would if they were like everybody else and jumping in and had, their name, image, and likeness and going after everybody. They've decided to go a different route. We'll see how that works out. Can they afford a subpar class with the approach that they're having? This is just a guess I think that they're going to have a subpar class. I predicted yesterday that they would end up at number 26 on February 1st. That's when the national signing day is. Now that's way down from number 8 where they were last year. And you could wonder like, wow, Michigan won the Big Ten and all of this momentum with winning the Big Ten and with the team that they have coming back, and they're going to slide back to 26. Name, image, and likeness was supposed to push them forward into the top 5. Very fair. Now, we don't know exactly how that's going to happen. We all predict. We all see the lay of the land, and we see how it's going to go. And at that point, has Michigan burned a class, missed out on some very top pieces that other teams around there are gathering, and that they're going to drop back behind the pack? They can, but they can also jump right back into the fray and get up there. Not ideal situation, but, Trepa, I don't think they're not a stable program. I think they're very stable. He says head coach, OC, DC all tried to leave after their best season in decades. Recruiting the following season is sputtering. What gives? Yeah, well, when you do have, that's part of having success, that there can be, if you bring in a guy and like they did last year and Mike McDonald, people say, oh, great. Look at all this NFL experience. Well, the guy had spent his majority of his career in the NFL. So the first chance that he had, he was out. Now, that's part of it. That's going to be part of it. If you have a guy that, is a lifelong college guy and, like, hey, he's going to be a college guy for a couple of years, and you can think about him staying around a couple of years. The thing with Harbaugh, whether, he had the right to do it, whatever he was doing with Minnesota, You didn't think he did it. However you feel all that played out, I don't think you can argue, like, when he was gone, suddenly the throne for Michigan was vacated. And people, what do you do immediately? You say, well, who's on the staff that could fill the void? Well, the defensive coordinator was taken off. You have the offensive coordinator in Josh Gaddis. Gaddis realized immediately, the Michigan looked at him and said, no, we don't think you're head coaching material for whatever reason, whether it was his family situation, whether there's some things that were going on behind the scenes. Josh Gaddis would have to talk about that. I think that those things did actually factored in big time. I actually think the family situation was number one, why it wasn't even being considered. Fair or not? I think it's fair. I don't know how many head coaches are out there that aren't married or that had just, gone through a situation like that. It was unstable. Not, you can say, that shouldn't matter. That's a fine opinion that you can have. It did. But so, yeah, it hurt. It hurt Michigan. It could have hurt them in recruiting. But, I think if you're trying to look at it in a positive sense, Michigan, they hauled in a 4-star recruit yesterday. They've got a chance coming up just in, less than 2 hours of grabbing another one and maybe another one. And then we could be sitting here on Monday and saying, wow, Michigan's not doing so bad. Like, I'm rolling out the gallows with this recruiting class. I don't think that, they're bringing any big time recruits in. I actually think the very top guys that they have are very likely to go elsewhere. But if you want to look at the Rosie situation, you could say, hey, look, there's still a lot of time. Michigan has behind the scenes, I've talked about this collective that they're going to spring on everybody in the fall. I am skeptical. I'll say that here today of this gigantic name, image, and likeness bag that's going to be presented. I'm skeptical both that it's going to be there, despite, people guaranteeing, people that are dialed in a lot more than I am, saying that they do think that it's there. I don't. And plus, unless you are guaranteeing that money up front, the idea of telling, like, Dante Moore, who's pictured, like, hey, Dante, let's just say Oregon was offering him $3 million. If Michigan got in there and said, look, Dante, in a year or two, if you're the starter and you're like one of the best players in the Big Ten, we'll give you $6, we'll give you $9 million. That's how much you can make at Michigan. If I'm Dante Moore, I'm saying, look, I don't even have to throw a pass at Oregon, and they're saying they're going to give me $3. Michigan, meanwhile, is saying in a couple years, if I play well, I can make $6 to $9. Now, hey, you could say, look, you got to be very confident in your skills. $9, he's never had a contract. I don't know what his deal is financially and everything. But if I'm 17, he's not even a high school senior, and somebody's going to say, you can be a multi-millionaire going into your high school season, or, you can get $6 to $9 in a couple of years. Guys aren't even thinking about, a couple of days. I'm taking the guaranteed money. And you know what? We'll repeat this very slow for everyone. Every top-ranked player is going to take guaranteed money. And you know why? Because every free agent always takes the biggest money and the most guaranteed money, especially in football. So, Michigan has to operate differently. They are operating differently. This was their plan. This is their messaging. You could say people behind the scenes, they're at fault. They don't want to take away this donor's money from it, whatever it is. There's a lot of politics going back and forth. And if you follow college, that there's always a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Here's something for Michigan. What other, Jim Harbaugh, was he forced to just say what he was saying, that, Michigan's not going to get involved transactionally? He wasn't forced. He may have felt like he had to just portray it like this, but he didn't have to. And Ward Manuel, for whatever else, whether he's protecting the house or however he's going about it, you know what Michigan doesn't have right now? They don't have a president. And what works well in college sports is when you have the president, the athletic director, and the football coach all rowing in the same direction, all on the same page. Michigan hasn't had that in years. I don't know if Harbaugh's ever had that. So he has to work against that. He has to work against that. For people that are saying, well, Jim would like to have people behind the scenes doing things. Well, he should have worked on that statement that he had. But again, maybe it's going to work out. Michigan has a lot of smart people, and they know that Michigan pays the football team for everything. So you would think with all these, you got to be super smart to get in there when they're, working over their plan. You would think that somebody would say, it doesn't have to be a regent, because somebody would say, look, who cares about all this stuff that you're talking about being a Michigan man, or, if you stay. The lay of the land right now, our competitors are getting a leg up on us. Are we just going to allow them to do that? We think that in, 6 months, we're going to be the ones standing? What a gamble. So it's a gamble, and one that I don't think is going to pay off for Michigan. All right. KC says it's hard. It's hard, so maybe he's meaning, I'm sorry. It's hard to say they're unstable. I think that's what he meant. Since they made the Final Four, but it's a fair argument. Michigan not firing Jim Harbaugh is setting them back more and more. Well, Eric, I don't think that Michigan. When do you think they should have fired him after the pandemic? I actually thought that. I think most everyone after the pandemic looked at Michigan, looked at Jim Harbaugh, looked at how haggard and just where the program was at, and said, "Wow, you were justified, very justified after the pandemic if you thought Michigan should have moved on." Now you want to say you're, whatever. I think you were justified. But Michigan staying with Jim Harbaugh was the correct move. He won the Big Ten and got him to the college football playoff. So that has not set him back. And setting them back more and more. Oh, I get it, more and more. Yeah, well, they lose out on Dante Moore. I get that. Michigan will not roll over and die anytime soon. Let's go to Wesley on the feedback immediately. Wesley saying it's always name, image, and likeness when Michigan doesn't get a commit. How about looking at the offense? Why would a top-notch quarterback or wide receiver want to play in that system? Wesley, I think that is fair. The way that, the amount of times that Michigan's running the ball, their identity last year, is pound the rock, ground and pound. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be like the Wisconsin of the Eastern Division. That's Harbaugh's identity. If you're a big fullback or a bunch of tight ends, that's why you want to come to Michigan, to run the football. I think, and so it's fair. I think, meanwhile, with a quarterback, a running game is your best friend. And it's not like Michigan doesn't want to throw the football, and you want to play to your strengths. If I'm Jim Harbaugh and I'm on the offensive staff, I think Michigan is throwing the football a lot more this year. I think, one, if you look at both of their backs, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, they caught more passes than Hassan Haskins last year. These guys are pass catchers along with runners, but they're not the between the tackles, like, let's give them like Hassan Haskins was. The profile of Michigan's two backs are both pass catchers outside the tackles, not between the tackles. That just by itself is going to have Michigan throwing the football more. Meanwhile, they're stacked at wide receiver. They bring in 3 recruits, and Darius Clemens, one of them, who showed out at the spring game. He's going to demand some targets. And, they bring back probably their best wide receiver in Ronnie Bell. So they have to throw. They should. They have to. They will throw the football a lot more this year. And the offensive coordinator that is taking over for Josh Gaddis is a quarterback coach. He's going to want to throw the football. If Michigan runs the ball anywhere close to the way they did last year, I think what you're saying here, Wesley, and for a pocket passer or somebody, that you can look at, you can say you want to be in the running gun. You don't want to be in a let's throw the ball 14 times offense. I think that's I think it's not a bad argument. But next year, Are people saying that? Was that a factor with Dante Moore? Wesley talking about transformational over transactional. I bet Will Johnson has NIL deals and he hasn't played a snap. What's the difference in pay for play? Well, fair. I know you don't exactly know what that name, image, and likeness deal is. How much is it? It's one thing to have a deal, $10,000 deal, $15,000, whatever it is, and then have a 6-figure or 7-figure. I don't think that Will Johnson has I'm guaranteed he doesn't have a 7-figure deal. I don't think that J.J. McCarthy has a 7-figure deal. And, maybe he will, especially the way Michigan, and if you listen to Jared Wangler, who was like, once they're a couple of years down the line, guys are just going to be making money. At this point, McCarthy should, but I don't think he does. I know others think that he does. I don't. KC says, I think Dante Moore didn't come to Michigan because they have a quarterback who could play another 3 years. Maybe. They do. Technically, J.J. McCarthy, not technically, he's a true sophomore. So he could play this year, a junior, he could play 3 more years. And Cade McNamara, he is, because he redshirted as a freshman and he has a pandemic year, he is technically has sophomore status too. Now, unless there's an injury, I don't think that both of these guys are going to be on the roster next year. Maybe, but I doubt it. But that could have factored in. You're right. There's always a lot of different factors. The thing is, with name, image, and likeness, we're seeing how it's playing out. What else do we have to do? We like college football. We talk about the schedules. We look at the recruiting classes. And we just look at the facts. And the facts have, stacked up against Michigan here in the offseason. It's not all looking great. It wasn't like, hey, Michigan's got a huge boost because of winning the Big Ten. Harbaugh and his staff, the great continuity there. Everything is awesome. It's not the way it's gone. It's been the opposite. But that doesn't mean that Dante Moore picked Oregon because of name, image, and likeness or whatever. All right, let's move on. Michigan did yesterday find their 9th verbal commitment, and there he is, Amir Herring out of West Bloomfield. This is a good pickup here for the Wolverines. 23 West Bloomfield 4-star interior offensive lineman Amir Herring. He chose Michigan over Nebraska, Missouri, and Boston College. That's their 9th commitment of the 23 class, and the 2nd from West Bloomfield. The first was Samaj Morgan. You listen to Amir Herring talk, it could be just kids now. They just sound like, they're professionals. Like Amir Herring, like I've heard a million high school kids talk, and not all of them. A lot of times quarterbacks, you hear them because they're used to talking in front of the microphones and everything. You say, wow, man, this kid sounds like, he's years ahead of where he's at. Amir Herring sounds like a pro. Listen to him.
The best of both worlds, I feel like, football-wise, academically. It's just the best of both worlds, in my opinion. The medical school, where I want to go into, being, working in the sports med field, that was a big, part of my decision. And just, the football, I feel like I got, 2 of the best developers, in the country, with Coach Harbaugh and Coach Moore. So,
first time I ever heard Amir Herring talk. If it doesn't work out in football, I think sports medicine, whatever, route he's going to go, guy sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders. All the best. Good addition to Michigan's class and a tremendous pickup for Jim Harbaugh and company. Meanwhile, coming up in about 90 minutes from now, we'll see if that happens. But a guy that I have is a profile up on the screen. His name is Collins Acheampong. Now, Acheampong is, I listened to him on YouTube to see how he said his name, and he actually did say it. He puts a little Acheampong. He says it quick like that. I think that it will even out when he goes to college, and maybe they'll start calling him, have a little bit more of an American name, and it'll be more like Acheampong. But when he says it, it sounds more like Acheampong. Whatever. Collins Acheampong is somebody that the Wolverines would love. 4-star. How about 6'8" out of California, defensive end, Michigan, LSU, Miami, and UCLA. Josh Henschke this morning was looking on the Den, an amazing blue review, and Henschke's forecast was for Michigan when it comes down to Acheampong. Now, if Michigan hauls in Herring yesterday and Acheampong today, 2 4-stars, think about name, image, and likeness and Dante Moore and, what's Michigan doing, everything else, they're doing all right. Now, if you get a Acheampong commitment and you know that you have LSU and Miami still involved in the mix, this is one that you're going to have to, stay engaged on all the way through National Signing Day, because Miami, they're pushing everything into the middle. And, LSU with Brian Kelly, they're not adhering to any rules. And I don't know what UCLA's plan is, but they're attached at the hip with USC coming into the Big Ten. UCLA knows that USC for decades has gone past the rules. They also know that just currently Lincoln Riley, it appears, is offering millions of dollars for a wide receiver before he even got into the transfer portal. So maybe UCLA thinks that they have to get into the pay for play game. I don't know. All that being said, Acheampong is supposed to be in for Michigan. I saw that the name Acheampong means destined for greatest. Destined for greatness in the country of Ghana in Africa. That's what it translates into. So if Acheampong destined for greatness, it sounds good to me. He's a 4-star defensive end. Michigan would love to get him. We'll find out a little bit later on today if that is going to happen. Casey mentioning that he needs to gain a lot of weight. Well, Casey, I got to lose a lot of weight. The thing is, it's a lot easier. I don't know if it's easier to gain or lose, but when you got a frame like 6'8" and you see him, how many times I see you guys like the offensive linemen that come in that are 225. What would you say the weight you'd like to see him at? 255 at 6'8"? That sounds, if he comes out and he's 6'8" is tall to begin with for a defensive end, but maybe he'll play basketball too, but he is destined for greatness. But yeah, when you're 17, 18 years old, you could pack on 20, 30 pounds of muscle. I remember in high school, I think as a freshman, I was like 130, maybe even 120. But then I gained 10 pounds a year. Then I was a senior, I was like 160, 170. It's been a minute. There. Ghost Rider says on the bright side, Michigan has McNamara, JJ, Davis Warren, and Obi. I don't know who Obi is. Orgy, maybe you mean. They've got Alex Orgy and Denegal that are on the roster too. Bowman. Maybe he meant Bowman. I don't know. Moving forward to focus on a 24 quarterback. Worldwide on the feedback. Let's see what Worldwide has to say. Herring is barely a 4-star. There's a big difference between a 0.9 and a 0.96. The 4 stars we get are not like the 4 stars OSU and other NLI teams are getting. Acheampong would be a good get, though. Yeah, I'll buy what you're saying about the variance in 4 stars worldwide. I don't know if you've heard I don't want to sit here every day, come in and say, Michigan doesn't know what they're doing with name, image, and likeness. They're going to be left in the dust. On National Signing Day, when they're not in the top 25, they'll rule the day. They've burned this recruiting class. They've burned any momentum from last year. Harbaugh, dalliances with the Vikings, ran off Josh Gaddis, and they went from knocking on a top 5 class, and now they're going to be outside the top 25, and Michigan's scrambling. Now, I don't think all of that, but I do think that the name, image, and likeness, that Michigan is not playing it well. And so what you're saying, I think, is accurate. We're going to let that play out as it goes here, over the next couple months and all the way to National Signing Day. But I'm not sitting here every day yelling about Michigan and their approach to the name, image, and likeness. I don't think they're doing it the right way. I don't think the messaging is correct. I don't think that Harbaugh came out with the right message with the transformational over transactional. It was fine that he said that, but right after that, he should have said, but I'm confident that behind the scenes that Michigan is going to be competitive with anybody in the country with everything. He could have said that. Nobody has to worry about not getting everything that they could possibly get at Michigan. But he didn't say that. But you know what? He didn't contact me. I said it for years. I think Brady Hoke should have had me. Harbaugh should talk to people before he, comes out with his statements. And if he was just talking with Ward Manuel going on podcasts and worried about, it keeps saying, we're just worried about these guys being employees. And then also behind the scenes, they're worried about boosters that give money for the Michigan business. So for the facilities and everything, they're worried about them taking some of that money and giving it to the kids. And that's bad for business. Nobody cares about that. Nobody's crying for Michigan when it comes down to money. You can, they select the cream of the crop when it comes down to their students. They've got to pay through the teeth to get in there. They've got an endowment that's as big as Mount Rushmore. And, their brand takes a back seat to nobody, like their football stadium. So, talking about, we don't want in our business model a donor that would otherwise be giving us $1 million to only give us $200,000 because he feels like he wants to get in and start paying some recruits. I don't like that approach either. But I'm not overreacting to it. I'm trying to react in real time and try to give people an honest opinion on how things are playing out. There's a lot of Michigan fans that are completely behind Michigan because the Wolverines have stood up on the hill that they have stood on in the 21st century. And they have declared that they are not going to cheat. They are not crossing over any lines. And it doesn't matter what their competitors are doing. It doesn't matter that the NCAA, they have the power, but they're not using any of it. I don't know how they would if they weren't able to do anything with a guy from Miami or USC, but this is the way Michigan's decided to do it. Do I think it's going to work? No. Do I take 10 minutes describing it every time? Yes. Venice, kid that went to Oregon that has a new coach and an awful Pac-10. That's straight embarrassment. Yeah, here's the thing about Dante. Like, we don't know, but it hurts. I'm not papering over that at all. It was like when Michigan seemingly wasn't in on CJ Carr. The thought was, well, they put all their eggs in the Dante Moore basket. Well, today's the day. They got no Carr. They've got no Moore. Am I sitting here, going to blow sunshine up Michigan on a day like today? Not at the quarterback position. They have struck out. It's a fine plan until it doesn't work. And yeah, there could be a lot of factors at play. But that's why these guys get paid the big money. It's why Jim Harbaugh, has a check bigger than everybody in the world. It's why Ward Manuel is sitting over there, and is able to play the greatest golf courses in the world. And, because these guys get paid millions of dollars. But when it comes down to making the big decisions on how to keep that football program competitive with Ohio State and how to make the college football playoff, it feels like they're falling behind. Yeah, so today is not the greatest day. TB saying is panicking, just relax. Nah, yeah, I think that's to me too. I think letting it all out, feeling your emotions. I think in the past, as younger, I would keep my emotions in. Well, let's just put the trust in the coaches. Let's just cheer for the team. Even if I didn't, I'd like, wait a second, things don't seem right here. Now, if there is a path where all of this makes me and makes a worldwide, sound like a bunch of crybabies. And that path is in, about an hour of Acheampong committing to Michigan. Michigan then picking up, and I'm not exactly sure when this is going to happen, but there's a chance as early as today of Enow Etta, another defensive end. And if you thought Acheampong was too thin, Etta looks like he's ready to play right now. 6'5", 260. He's out of Texas. Now, this is a wild recruitment. If you're somebody that likes recruiting, you have jumped on this bucking Bronco, and you have just been riding this one around. Woo! Yeah, there's social media, sliding in the DMs. I don't like this. I don't like that. Make an announcement, deletion. I don't know. It's remember, for me, recruiting is a lot of fun. It's it's something to do until the season starts. It's important. Get me wrong there. And I know people that are in the business. I mean, these guys got to take it very seriously. They're detectives. But the recruitment of Etta, maybe he'll commit to Michigan and then maybe he'll decommit tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll be upset if he watches this video of me saying that it's a bucking Bronco type recruitment. I don't know. I'll just say I'll say this to Enow, who appears to enjoy the process and gets involved in all these kind of things. Hey, do whatever you want. Enjoy the process. If you don't like these recruiting dudes slide into your DMs and then spilling the beans, I get that. Do you? And whatever you feel like. Remember, you could commit, you could decommit, you could take the highs. I mean, anything. So, the world's your oyster. I hear that, you're big into academics. Well, Michigan's a great place for you then. And if you're thinking Michigan State, and you're thinking about the cash from MSU up front, I don't know. That's a decision you got to make. Don't make your decision about any recruiting guy slide into your DMs and then, copying and pasting something on some posting board. I would say you'll regret that. But again, I'm not exactly sure, all of it. I haven't followed it, that closely. I'll tell you this, and I'll speak for Maize and Blue Review and all of the staff. We hope that you, Enow Etta, that you go out there and make the best decision for yourself, and it works out great for you, wherever it is. If it's Michigan, that's great. If it's somewhere else, good luck. But along the way, we're just having fun with it. But keep an eye on EE. It could happen. All right. Let's see. Venice can't keep the best player in your state, and they went across country to Oregon. Yeah, he's got a series of emojis here. One, face plant. One, the worrying emoji. I'm making that face myself. The other one is a mad emoji. And I'm not sure what this last one is. I can't tell. It's another guy, but in my eyes, I guess they're not that great. But I hear you, Venice. If I'm going to read all the feedback, I'm going to need to just zip through it a lot quicker. Big A. I knew when name, image, and likeness started, we weren't going to offer multi-million deals to 17-year-olds. Well, Big A, I didn't think they were going to do that either. But when you see 25 other schools jumping in feet first, then you have to decide what you're going to do. And maybe there's some business principles here that Michigan is abiding by. that, first in wins, and, they don't think they can compete, and they're going to have this nuance response, and it will end up working for them. But I feel like this, Big A. I don't really know what it came down to with Dante Moore. I know people, and it's an easy one to say, well, they gave jobs to his parents, and they're going to charter flight him all over the place. Plus, they gave him $3 million. Michigan's not doing that. That's cheating. Well, if Michigan would have said, hey, here's $4 million. Take $1 million of that. We'll find us some jobs for your parents right here in the state of Michigan. Maybe if you can work for Michigan, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's some job placements that way. And as far as charter planes, that's sponsorable. Here's vouchers. You can fly across the country anywhere you want. Unlimited charter planes for you. I don't know. If Michigan would have done that, would Dante Moore have said, I'm going to stay around and play at Michigan? I don't know. It feels like that today, but I'm not sure. But I think Michigan could have. And do I think that people are going to sit around and Michigan's a bunch of cheaters? Michigan has crossed the Rubicon. Here's the funny thing when it comes down to Michigan and this line about not promising and the pay for play, and Michigan saying, no, we do not cheat. Everybody else cheats. We don't. Or whatever. This is our stance. You continue to hear about, well, Michigan made it clear that, what did they make clear? You're either playing the game or you're not. And Michigan's not playing the NIL game right now. We're going to see if it plays out. How it plays out, we're going to see if they come out looking smart here. Again, they got a lot of smart people. What are they doing? Are they clutching the money, or are their pearls too hard? I'm not sure if that's the case. Where the business part? I wanted to be in some of the rooms where they're talking about it. Did Harbaugh just say, no, we're not giving $5 million to anybody? Or did Harbaugh say, this is going to be my approach? Can we get some people behind the scenes that are going to offer up some money? I think that's what Harbaugh, I would guess that that's what Harbaugh wants. But Harbaugh didn't do himself any favors by just coming out with, we're not going to get involved in the transactional. Because do I really think then behind the scenes, he's like, I said we weren't getting involved, but where are we? TB. He didn't want to sit for 2 years. Sure, money played a factor. Yeah. Venice, Michigan is an embarrassment. I don't blame Dante. Michigan not offering money. He said he doesn't want to run the ball 40 times. He's over it. Yeah, I can't help you if you feel like Michigan, by having the success that they had last year by playing to their strengths and their identity was running the football as much as they did, protecting Cade McNamara, and dominating Ohio State with their run game and their defensive line play, that that was going to hurt them in the future for a quarterback that might want to throw it 40 times a game. I mean, what are we talking about here? Last year, you should be commending Michigan for their approach offensively. Yeah, was I sitting there at the halftime of the Washington game saying, they better not come out and run the ball. Let's see them throw it a little bit. And then they came out and ran the ball, but they ran it right down their throat. If you're, the only thing you can ask, you probably ask for a lot of things. Here's one thing that you can ask from your football team. You hope that they maximize the talents of the players on the team. And last year, Michigan, they maximized the talent. You think they should have gone back and in the second half against Washington, where they're only up 10-0 at the half, and said, you know what, everybody's pissed off that we're just running the ball. Well, let's just come out and let's script 10 pass plays. Let's just start throwing it over the yard, all over the yard. I would have said, hey, let's sprinkle in a little bit more passing if I was sitting there and, talking to him at the half. Do you think they should have approached the Wisconsin game that they're only up 13-10 at the half? Do you think they should have come out and said, let's just start winging it? Maybe they should have against Michigan State. Should they have against Ohio State with Hassan Haskins, who scored, 5 touchdowns and had 169 yards. Michigan ran the ball for 300 yards. Do they think they should have said, let's fight fire with Ohio State? Because in recruiting, Dante Moore wants to see us throwing the football, so let's forget the snow. Let's let it fly. No, they shouldn't have done that. Play to the strengths of your team. This year's team's strength on offense has a lot more to do with an aerial attack. Mark my words, Venice. And I think there's a counter to, you can be upset about NIL, and there's a point to be made about running the ball, but not being totally bitter. Come on. That sounds a little bitter. All right. It's going to be interesting if Oregon joins the Big Ten. Ooh, there you go. You guys are acting like Michigan just finished 5-7. Let's see. A couple more here. Mario. I see exactly where Michigan is coming from. Michigan has a chance to win the Big Ten again this year. So why destroy your locker room to pay a high school kid who may be a bust like many are a year? Yeah, I know that's, what do we say, a narrative. That's not one that I'm buying into, Mario. Like, every professional team that I have come across in my life, you know what they all say about rookies that come in and get paid like 2-3 times as much as they are? You know what they all say? Good for them. You know what? If you're playing a sport at the highest level, if you're a Michigan football player and they pay rumored $5 million for some guy to come in, you know what they say? Good for him. Hopefully he helps out this football team. They give $1 million to some defensive back that sees the field immediately. You know what they say? He's going to help us. Good for him. You can say, no, they say, we want ours. Where's mine? Well, they have a chance to make theirs. I don't think the destroying the locker room. I know Harbaugh said that. I don't see that part. Every pro team, the guys, when they see guys, they get into free agency and they make so much money, and some of them they don't deserve it. They all say good for them. Everybody knows what everybody's making, and there's already that way. When you're a quarterback that comes in, like, you get 20 times the attention than somebody that's an interior offensive lineman. That's the way it goes. Is that upsetting the apple cart? Is that destroying the locker room? These guys are happy that money is flowing. You want some money? Go out there and cut a deal. Yeah, that's one that I'm not with. I know Harbaugh. I think if I get a chance to go to a news conference or something, I may have to jump in and say, Jim, I don't know about this destroying the locker room. How about in the pros? How did that work for you? Yakov. No highly rated wide receivers will commit unless a highly rated quarterback commits. Yeah, I don't know about that. They're stacked pretty much at wide receiver right now, and they've got 3. I don't know if all 3 of them will redshirt or not. All right, I will say this: there's too much panicking. I sound like I'm panicking, and today is a day to panic because of Dante Moore, but panicking at every level about every single recruit, and they're not going to do anything, and they run the ball too much. NIL's costing them everything. Again, there is a path to, and also, even if name, image, and likeness is killing Michigan, and they do have to sacrifice this particular class, which may happen, it doesn't mean that the football program is going to be ruined. It could mean that they need to get their ducks in a row. And it could mean they need to jump into the deep end of the pool and say, we got to start playing big time with the big boys. We got to put our big boy pants on, and we got to get off this hill that we've been dying on for 20 years. Like, we're playing it the right way, and everybody else is playing it the other way. Not everybody. Yeah. Well, Ohio State, here's somebody talking about how great Ohio State's recruiting is. Ohio State's recruiting is great. And some people will call it a cop-out, and I can understand this, but if you fall that far behind in recruiting and Ohio State jumps that far ahead, You shouldn't expect to compete with Ohio State every year. And then you shouldn't expect going to the college football playoff, every other year or every 5 years. I mean, and that's the thing. And last year you got a little bit of a taste. That's the problem. It reminds me of a couple of years ago. I went down to Fort Lauderdale and I stayed. My dad's friend had this multi-million-dollar home. His buddy's son was there, and he was driving this convertible, and we were driving up to the store to get some drinks. And I said, "Wow, this is the life. It's Fort Lauderdale, palm trees everywhere else." And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? He's pretty modest. Like, I know that back here in Michigan, he's got a modest job, And he said, I come down here every year, and he's like, I just get a taste of it, and I see how the other side lives, and and that's it. You got a taste of the college football playoff. You got a taste of beating Ohio State. You got a taste of winning the Big Ten. Michigan fans want to be there again. They don't want to, wait another 16 years. I don't think you have to wait another 16 years. But this could be a setback. Potentially could be a setback. Okay. What else do we have for you? I want to remind everybody that what we're doing here today goes on all the time on the Den, the Maize and Blue Review. You want to know what Michigan's next move is? You want to know what's going on with Acheampong, Enow Etta, and the rest? Join the Maize and Blue Review today. Go to michigan.rivals.com, and guess what? You can get access to premium content for free until the season opener. Use the code UMFree22 at checkout. We want to see you there. One last feedback. I'm leaving it right here. It's from Yakov, who is asking me a question. He says, Dennis, do you really think high 4- and 5-star players care about the Michigan Business and Engineering School, which almost none major in anyways? Well, probably not. I don't know. Every guy's different, Yakov. I mean, academics is important, to a lot of players. Do I think that, you just mentioned like Amir Herring, and I know you're the one or somebody else told me that he's not the ultimate 4-star or whatever else, but he's a 4-star and he cares about the Michigan Medical School. Those things factor in. I think academics do factor in. I think it helps. Now, in some cases, it does hurt. We know that trying to get players to transfer in, it does hurt. Where, the credit transfer, Michigan can't hit the transfer portal as hard as others, or as easy as others. But yeah, I think some do. But I get your point. There's a lot of other schools that are like, they're mentioning playing time, uniforms, NLI, and the kid's like, well, what about school? Like, oh, yeah, you can go to school too. I mean, I don't think Michigan presents it like that. I think Michigan presents it as, hey, this is a great academic institution, and you can be a student athlete, and we have the student first for a reason. I think that messaging is fine. And I actually think that is smart. I don't think Michigan should be like, who cares about the school here? We're just all about the name, image, and likeness now. But the messaging about wait a couple years and you can make as much as guys are giving you up front before you ever throw a pass, it's just not going to work. My opinion. I know a lot of people share in it as well. All right. Thanks, Yakov. I appreciate it. Everybody for watching as well. I thought today would be like a 10-minute show, and here we are pushing 1 hour. If I can make it another 30 seconds. I can make it another 30 seconds. Why is it so dark out? I mean, there is a dark cloud over Ann Arbor. It's not because Dante Moore committed to Oregon. It's because Michigan ran the ball too much this year. All right, Monday, I'll be here at 1 o'clock. Thanks for everybody for watching, all of the feedback coming in, and you participating in the show. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday. Bye.